I hope the handout was useful as we continue to go through our inclusivity modules. First off, everybody loves videos with dogs, and we have Gizmo here, who is the mascot of the Texas Democratic Party, and he is really excited about the next part as we unpack the learning objectives of this module. So Gizmo, say hello, and we're going to let him go for a little while as we continue. So why did we do this module? Well, first and foremost are four learning objectives. One, identity is fluid. If we know identity is fluid, we can be more empathetic, we can be more strategic, we can be more open-minded about identity as a whole. Two, that identity has power and privilege dynamics attached to it. So what does it mean? Like I talked about my little sister, the world was made for me and not necessarily made for her. Now I love my little sister more than life itself, and she is the number one person in my life. Would I want the world to give me more power and privilege? No. But does the world give me more power and privilege? Yes. And out of love for my little sister, that means I'm going to recognize those power and privileges so that I can interrupt them. And if I interrupt them, I am making a world that embraces my sister as much as it embraces me. But if I live in a world where I don't recognize my own power and privilege, then I'm just accepting it, and therefore allowing my little sister to continue to have an unequal experience in society. I want her to have an equal experience. And because I want to be a good ally, because I want to be a good sister, because I want to be a good human being, I am recognizing the differences. Not that I wanted them, not that I asked for them, but just the recognition that they exist so I can continue to fight for a more equitable and socially just world. Third, that identity is complex. One of the reasons that identity gets to exist in the ways that it exists is because we just simplify it. But the more that we simplify it, the less we're truly addressing it. It's okay for things to be complex. If we think of the complexities, we can truly adjust and address inequities. We can make a difference to make sure that our organization is inclusive and socially just. 4, and this is an advanced conversation that I'm now going to take you on because this is a conversation that gets left out. Identity is intersectional. That means that race informs gender, informs sexuality, informs ability, informs class, and all of these identities work together to perpetuate and or impact each other. So I'll give an example. I talk about being a survivor of sexual abuse very frequently on the house floor. Well, not very frequently, but I talk about it on the house floor. But I know that my experience with sexual violence is very much impacted based on my identity. So when we think about sexual violence, a lot of times in a gender context, it was impacted by my race, my culture, it was impacted by my class status, it was impacted by my ability, it was impacted by my religion. And all these things impacted this one thing. So for example, because of my working class background, but because my father did have a job that had insurance, when I was young and I went through my experience with sexual violence, I was able to see a therapist. That really changed my ability status, right? But then I think of my little sister. Had it happened to her, and because she doesn't have the ability to speak in the same ways that I do, would we have ever known? Again, so we can think about these identities, or we can think about these experiences, but they are very much informed and impacted through an intersectional dynamic that as we move forward, it is important for us to think about. I'm not here to have this conversation about identity in simplistic ways. I'm here to kind of push the boundaries. Why? Because I believe the strength of our party and the strength of our state is to build coalitions. But the only way to build true coalitions is to think about this in complex ways, in open-minded ways, in strategic ways, and in ways that we are actually encouraged not to think about it. We're encouraged to think identity in these boxes. And while these boxes are very real, they're more like the circle of our handout. So what we have next is an intersectionality video. And I'm going to be honest, it might be difficult to listen to all of it. But I think it has some really important messages that we should all really think about. Because again, this isn't necessarily just about us, but about the party and the future of our state. So listen, think about it, and we'll come right back.